Welcome.
We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
This is your number one podcast for ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties. Bringing you everything you need to know about things that go bump in the night and interviewing the personalities behind them. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Now, here are your hosts, your ghost hosts, Scott and Julie.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. How are you, Julie?
Good, Scott. How you doing today?
Good. Did you have a nice weekend?
I did. Nice long weekend. I hope all our listeners and viewers had a nice long weekend too.
Yeah, and the weather has been spectacular. We're in New England, we're north of Boston, and it's going to be in the 90s, I think, next couple of days. So.
Next couple of days, and then 58 on Saturday. So, New England weather, right?
I know, it's typical.
We're used to that.
So, Julie, this show today is really fascinating. Our guest, I met his wife, which is how we were connected. His wife, Lynn, works with Andrea Perrin. So she helps Andrea. She's her assistant when they go on different conventions and things like that. And I had a chance to meet her when I was on Andrea's show, A World Awakening, and she was telling me about her husband. So her husband, Jeff, he's waiting for us backstage, but he's had not one, but two near-death experiences. And, it's rare to even have one. But he had two. First one, he was electrocuted in 1997, and then he went into cardiac arrest in 2007. So they were about 10 years apart. His wife saved him, kept him alive. But his story takes a little bit of a different turn because something happened to him after he had his near-death experience. His third eye blew open and he sees things with his eye, with his real eyes. Mm-hmm. I mean, he sees things around him. Mm-hmm. And, the whole near-death experience is just fascinating enough. But when you add that to it, it's a whole different thing. So anxious to speak with him. Chanel, would you bring Jeff out? Hi, Jeff. How are you? Good to see you.
Hello. How you doing, Scott and Julie?
Great.
Good. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing good.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, really glad you could make it on. I've been looking forward to this. I know we talked quite a while ago and actually met in person for the first time. I had met Lynn before, but I hadn't met you until we were in Ohio together at the Parapsychon.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit. You had the first experience in 1997. And, obviously you had two near-death experiences. What were they like? Were they similar? Were they different?
Well, the first one was quite different than the second one. The first one, I was at work. I was working with one of the crew, and I had checked with him once, and I had to go back through to do some other things. And I come back to check on him again, and then he asked me about something, and I stuck my hand into the electrical panel to show him, and I caught the top of a control transformer, as they call it. It was 480 volts, and it took me right down, knocked me out, laid me out on the floor, and everything. And I don't know exactly how long I was out. For sure. But my thing is that I had a best friend of mine that was killed in a car accident, and he met me. You went to that place where it was kind of, I would say it's more of a white background, but you see him just like he's standing here talking to you, talking with him and everything about it. And he says, hey, this is an accident. He says, but it's not your time. And he says, you need to go back. And so that's how the whole thing started with the first near death and getting through that afterwards, because there was a little bit of time of getting over all the electricity that went through my body and things like that. And but the thing of meeting my best friend seeing him, and like I said, having a conversation with him and the whole thing, I really didn't notice. Some people say they look down and look at their body down below or whatever. I didn't have any of that, but just the outlook of having both of these together has really changed my outlook on death. It's made me not afraid of it. The only thing I hope is it's not long and painful. That's, the only thing I can hope, but I'm not afraid of it anymore. And then, so after that, I started having just what I thought was, I would say interflections in my vision and different things, like off to the side or stuff. I started seeing just things off to the side, and that I really didn't pay too much attention to it. And then after the second one, we went on a trip overseas for work. Was in Germany for a week and a half. On the way to come home, we took and got on an airplane. They took off, and then the airplane had to return to Germany. We sat on the tarmac for almost 7 hours, and it finally they got the plane and we took off. And when I got home, after I got home, I went and picked my daughter up at church camp, and then that was on Friday night. Saturday, we went to a movie. My daughter and I went to the movie, came back to the house. I put the sprinkler on the front yard and was back at the back door, and I went up by the pool and put my hands in the pool and kind of played in the pool water. And then I come up to the back door, and my daughter met me at the back door, and I don't know why she met me, but she was standing at the back door, and I told her the only thing I could say was get out. The only thing I could get out, was go get your mother because I don't feel good. And then I don't remember much after that. I do remember some of the things in the emergency room, not really looking down on myself, but feeling trapped inside my body. They were using the acupuncture on your feet to see if you have any stimulation and react to it and all that. And there was absolutely nothing there. And everything. The wife had done cardiac thump and some stuff at home before the ambulance got here, and then they put me in the ambulance and took me to the ER. And but after that, it came more prevalent, especially at my work. I've had a couple of guys that work there die, and I have taken and seen what I think is maybe them, but I've also seen other things, and they'll come right through my office wall and go through the office and go out the other office wall. I see it on city streets and everything.
Do they pay attention to you? I mean, are they aware of you?
I don't know if they're really aware of me. Sometimes they will hesitate when they get in front of me, but I don't know if that's an awareness of them knowing that I'm there and turning and looking at me, because I really don't see any facial in that when I see it. And I've kind of put it together that if you've seen the movie with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore,
Yes.
The Ghost, yeah. I'm sorry.
Where they take the bad
But
guy away.
it's where they in the streets. You see in the streets of Chicago where they come up and grab the bad guys and then they drag the bad guys away. It's basically kind of
you're seeing shadow people.
Yes,
Shadow.
exactly. Shadows. That's shadow people is what I call it. Yes.
Oh, interesting.
And it's
How frightening is that?
at the beginning it was startling when I first really started seeing them, because I'd see them and not see them and everything, and then they would start coming more through the office at work. I'd start seeing them on the streets. I do see them both daylight and nighttime when I see them. and it doesn't really matter what area I'm in. If there's something there, it usually shows up and comes across in front, and see it moving.
Do you see people's loved ones around them, do you think, or are they just random?
They don't have anybody with them. They're singles whenever I see it. So I don't know if they're loved ones or anybody around it. It's not like I see somebody like my best friend when I had my experiences.
But you don't see people around us. So in other words, like we all have people that we've lost. So you would see my mother or my grandfather or something. They're just sort of random people that are.
But what we know from shadow people are that they are negative entities. They're not your typical spirit coming back to visit. From everything that we know from shadow people, they are, the connotation is that they are some sort of negative entity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what I've put together from seeing them, and the times that I've seen them and stuff, is that they're more of a negative than they are a positive entity.
Right.
But they seem like they're on a mission to go do something. Right. Because they don't sit around very long. They don't stay, within view very long, and things. So it.
Have you ever had an interaction with one of them?
Not really as a actual interaction on them. I mean, like I said, I've had them stop in front of me, and that, but I don't know if that's kind of an interaction. But it's not like talking to them or communicating with them or whatever.
Right. Or them approaching you, anything like that.
Yeah, they just not come up and like come up to me and kind of, as some things do, give you that cool feeling or cold or any of that stuff. I haven't had any of that stuff when they're in the area.
And you don't get messages, so they're not sharing information or anything. It's just
it's just seeing the things like that. And I don't know if it's a precursor to something else to come or not. But for me, it has really helped me, understand death and the times that I've been in that position, that it's nothing to be really afraid of.
Well, I think what's fascinating is that there's this whole other spirit world. And, we're aware of it. I do readings. Julie picks up on things. But we don't see them like that. You're seeing them as entities in our world almost,
Mm-hmm.
They're around all of us. And I think that's what's so hard to kind of wrap your head around a little bit.
Yeah, because, and it's like they're not attached to anybody when I see them. It just they're here or they're there, or we're driving down the road and some will go across the road in front of you, things like that. So it really doesn't matter where it's at. It's not like I've noticed that it's been like a cemetery area or anything like that. It's happened in so many different areas.
Right.
Is it daily? I mean, is it all the time? Do you see them daily, or is it just?
It's not really a daily occurrence all the time. Sometimes it can be daily. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I call my wife at home and talk to her once in a while during the day, and I'll tell her, hey, something just went through the office.
Oh boy.
And stuff like that. So, but I mean, it's like last year when we were down at the con last year where you introduced yourself to me. Mm-hmm. We were staying in the hotel downtown, and in the hotel, they would come in the window, they'd go across the wall, up along between like the ceiling and the wall, up in that corner like that. They'd go across there, and then they'd go out underneath the door into the hallway, and they'd come back that way, come back in through the door and go back across the hallway, back behind the window curtains, or they'd go both ways on the floor in front of the credenza and the TV and all that kind of stuff. But I was seeing them in the hotel last year down there. But there was quite a few that weekend. There was quite a few in the hotel room that weekend.
And if you think about it, Julie, we talk about street ghosts, right? Because I've picked up on things at work and in different places that they're not known to be haunted. They're just not. But we pick up on these things because I think they're around us all the time. And that could be what it is. You know what I mean? I don't see them with my eyes.
Yeah.
But they're around us.
I think we need to distinguish spirit from shadow people.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow people are extremely different than spirit.
Well, I have places that we've gone to for different shows and stuff, and they're doing investigations afterwards and stuff. I've gone into different venues and different things, and immediately walking into the venue, I am told, you need to leave. You need to leave now.
Oh. So sounds like you have maybe some sort of an attachment
to something. Yes, because like I said, I've walked into venues and it directly tells me that you're not supposed to be here. You need to leave.
No, do you hear it with your ears, audibly outside of your body, or is it more of a feeling or a message that you get?
Well, it's a feeling, but it's an internal message that comes up.
Yeah.
When I get it. Right. And it's been, like I said, different venues that we've been into to do things and stuff. So I just basically go back to the waiting area and let everybody else do what they do. And
so you listen
and
to them.
Sit back because you don't know what's going to happen. And then, like I said, I'm not there to provoke anything or do anything. But when you walk into a venue and you get hit like that,
yeah,
it's strange and different for me because I've never been that way. But these are the things that are coming on the longer that I've had after my experiences of the near death and everything. So it's been quite the experience and eye opening.
It's frightening, really, if you think about it.
It can be because there's been some venues that I went in and they did that. It's like, okay, I can see that I don't really want to be here anyways because it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know what you're going to see.
Yep.
Or it's possible that whatever is attached to you is fearful that someone there can make it leave, make it go away. Especially if you're in, paranormal conferences, that type of thing, where we have so many people that work within the spirit world and they know a lot of these people are extremely powerful and are able to get rid of an attachment. So it's quite possible the attachment is telling you to leave because it fears the people that are there.
Okay.
I mean, who knows? It's
only speculation,
yeah,
but right.
Speculation. But you only see shadows, then you don't see actual spirits. So when we talked about being at the prison and they were dropping, it wasn't prisoners, the spirits of prisoners that were dropping things down.
I don't know because I didn't see any shadows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Just you'd be sitting there and there'd be things dropping down and different things while you're sitting at the table and you look up and really don't see anything. But I mean, it's not like the building's really windy and stuff, it's blue dust and stuff's blowing around and everything. So it just is, strange.
It almost is like, you're stuck between two worlds. Your soul, your mind, whatever it is somewhere in the middle where you're not quite there, but your awareness is not quite here either. It's somewhere.
That's what I said. I don't know if it's a precursor or something yet to come that I know of.
But when you went and had your second experience, none of those creatures showed up. It was all positive.
Yeah, it was positive at the experience. Like I said, both times I seen my friend talk directly to him. My friend Jim was the same friend. Both times it was the same friend. He met me right just as soon as I got to the place. He met me right there. The last time, his response to me the last time is that I had done my duty of what I needed to do, and it was my choice to stay or go.
And
I chose to stay.
To stay on Earth, yeah.
Yeah. And then my wife is, she's like, you can't leave me with these children all by myself. So, but
No, I get it. But it's fascinating. I've talked to people who were given the choice, and they or maybe not given the choice, as the case may be, but they had children here, and what they were experiencing was so wonderful that it was almost like that wasn't even a thought. And that's hard to fathom a little bit. You know what I mean? That what you're experiencing is so fantastic that you're still willing to stay over there and not come back. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, my friend told me him when he had his accident and was killed, he didn't have a choice to come back. So he wasn't given what he talked to me about. But he never told me. In the two cases, he never told me who he saw or any of that kind of stuff when I did meet it. It happened in October. I was actually up north deer hunting. I was sitting in a tree stand. I came back to where I was staying for lunch, and my wife and my mother drove up to meet me, and I turned and looked at them. Immediately, I told them, I says, "It was Jim, wasn't it?" And they said, "Yeah." And so, I knew when they were there that there was something wrong, because they wouldn't usually come up and meet me up there doing that. But to know that it was your friend and everything. So.
And you recognized him. So it was like he had a body. It wasn't that you just knew. Sometimes you hear that too. Well, it was energy. So I didn't really see a face, but I knew,
Yeah.
He looked
I recognized him right off the bat. I don't really remember what he was wearing or how he was dressed, but, face to face and seeing him and talking with him and all that kind of stuff. It was definitely him in that moment. So
how long did you feel that you were gone? Did it feel like it was quick, or did you feel like you'd been there a while?
Well, the first time I'd been there a while, because I talked with him for quite a while. And the second time when I got it, I would say that it was, until I think I was there quite a while the second time, because of the time that it took them to get me to the hospital, because I really don't consciously remember anything else except for when I'm in the emergency room and they're working on me and I'm feeling like I'm trapped in my body. I can't move my extremities. I can't talk. I can't really do anything. And so that whole time of, from the time I went down when I saw my daughter and told her to get mom, to the time that I realize I'm in the emergency room, trapped in my body.
Of course, like earthly time is so different.
Yeah.
Than what the time is. There is no time.
Yeah. Physically, I really don't know how many, minutes or hours or any of that all was, but in my conscious of going through everything, was, whatever time it took. It was just, like I said, it's very, very strange to have that experience, be unconscious, and, have a positive experience of somebody meeting you and talking to you and telling you, hey, not your time yet. You need to go back. You need, all this. And he says,
and it felt as real as you are talking to us.
Yes.
And that's whatever we were talking about this before, because Julia's had an NDE. It's the realism where it's not a dream. It's not that you're fading in this medication or lack of oxygen or whatever. You feel like
your senses are heightened.
There.
Yeah. My senses were heightened. I can still, to this day, I can remember. It was 16 years ago, and I can remember every word that was said. And I don't have such a good memory these days, but it's as clear as day. I can remember the smells. I can remember the colors being so much more vibrant than I've ever seen. It's just, I remember every bit of it, except there was a few things that I was told that I would not remember because it wasn't important at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But in that part of the
Yeah.
conversation, I would not remember. But I mean, it was just amazing, and it was beyond anything I could experience in a body. To be completely honest, I mean, I have a daughter. At the time, she was only 15 years old. You know, my husband was still alive then, but nothing. The only thing that mattered was sitting under that tree, smelling the air, looking at that beautiful blue sky, looking at the grass, and being extremely comfortable with whoever it was that I was with at the time.
Yeah.
That's
Well, my
that.
daughter was only two. I think it was a month and a half old. She was born in December of '96, and this happened in January of '97. Was the first one
Right.
and stuff. So
Yeah, but it's very different. It's
yep.
very different. And I know, you know, when you talk with people that have been there, and honestly, it took me a while to realize what it was because I remembered it very clearly. Mine happened during surgery. Um, and when I came to, I remembered it. And I remember thinking, wow, that was the strangest thing. It was, I started thinking it was a dream, but I knew it wasn't a dream. I knew it was very different.
Yeah. Well, it took me quite a while to start talking about it. I held it in
Yeah.
and didn't really talk about it
You don't want
because
people to think you're crazy. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I honestly had held it in for quite a while because I remember Lynn was shocked when I started telling her about it and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, that's it. You don't, you know, you're figuring people are going to think that I'm absolutely crazy, but the things that I was shown that I did remember, you know, when I started telling people, it blew them away. It absolutely blew them away.
mhm.
Things that I could not have known, and it
Yeah,
was just absolutely amazing.
yeah.
Why do you think everybody's NDE is, in some ways, they're the same, right? In terms of the heightened
Yes,
senses and all
that's
that.
what I've read.
But they're
Yes,
so different. You know what I mean? You know, Jeff, you stood in it was all white and your friend met you. Some people meet a lot of their relatives. Some people
Mhm.
are walking through a path or a field. And I wonder what
I
makes
was told that I was told right off that I was not staying, and I think that
right
makes a
on.
difference. I
Yeah,
was
well,
greeted by a being, and I was told right off that I was not staying. Now, when my husband passed away, he told me it was 2 days before he passed away, and I gave him hospice at home. And I was sitting with him on the sofa one morning, and his best friend had passed away about 6 years before that. And then another really good friend passed away just 6 months before that. And so he said to me, I sat down and he knew that he never really believed in, you know, psychics and things like that until we were married and he saw things. And
mhm.
so he said to me, I'm going to tell you what happened. And he said, Joe and Sippy came to me. And I said, oh, in a dream. And he said, it was a dream, but it wasn't a dream, Julie. And he said, and Joe said to me, hey, man, we got a place for you. We're waiting for you. We'll see you soon.
Yeah,
And it was his two best buddies. And he said, I was sitting on the sofa with him, and he said, they were as clear as you are right now talking to me.
yeah.
So I think that, you know, it like you say, it is different.
Mhm.
He knew when he went, he wasn't coming back. So his friends were telling him, it's going to be safe. We're going to be here with you.
Yeah. Well, that's like I said. I don't understand why it was my best friend.
Right.
I don't know why it wasn't like my grandparents or my mother or my father, which is all my. I have a brother and a sister yet, but the rest of the family's all gone.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't understand why it wasn't a member of the family or anything like that. I don't have any in his, and he didn't describe anything like that of why it was him or anything. He just basically was very calming, telling me it's all right. It's not your time the first time. He says, not your time to be here. You're going to go back and everything. And it was just, but it was just like a conversation like you and I are having, and
Right.
it was, yeah.
Right. I'm just seeing in our chat, Nancy Rabolo is talking about going through a tunnel.
Fellow, yeah.
Yep. And a grassy knoll. Scott, how many times have I described the grassy knoll to you? When I've described my near-death experience, the first thing I remember sitting under a tree, and my exact words are a grassy knoll.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, well, and the other thing is too, although you've had an NDE, nobody's ever had a DE and come back. You know what I mean? The near-death experience is not the death experience. And where
Yeah.
would you have gone from there? Do you know what I mean?
yep. And my cardiologist, when I started to go to him afterwards, after everything that went on, he says, I don't understand it either. He says, because I don't have anybody else in my practice that's lived through it. Okay. And so it's a thing. And then I had a close friend that just lost his daughter because of a blood clot with a pulmonary embolism. And he lost her. And but that was, to me, talking with him about that stuff was painful, because it was exactly, he explained to me what happened, and it's exactly what happened to me and everything else, and things like that. And but most of my times when the thing happened, I mean, it was pretty much instantaneous. Once I got into the electrical, instantaneously I was unconscious, and then I came to the place where I met my friend. Like you said, Scott, it was more of a white background than it was a grassy knoll or a field somewhere or something like that. But it was just a very calming area, and he made it sure that I wasn't afraid and everything, and so
It's really incredible. Do you think, Julie, because you come at this from both sides, do you think that having been through that yourself helped you to heal when you lost Jimmy, or do you think it didn't even matter at that point, that your sense of loss was so strong that it didn't matter? But was there any comfort from knowing?
There was. And honestly, it when he and I had talked about, discussed it and talked about it, it gave him peace. He felt at peace when he did pass. He felt at peace knowing that there was something more, and something waiting for him. It wasn't an abyss. And so definitely, it is. And being a psychic empath is a whole different thing than being a psychic medium. So I could feel what he was feeling, and it was very peaceful for him.
Well, that's just definitely how I feel after the two events that have happened, is that it's all changed. I'm not worried about anything that way. Like I said earlier, we just hope that it's not a painful when it goes, but
it's more about right.
Yeah. It just, I'm just okay with it. It's going to happen. And, but the things that have come along with it have been kind of strange, and going through things.
I've never heard of anyone that, has come. I've heard of people that have come through and their psychic abilities have been so much more clearer and distinct, but I've never heard of anyone who's come through and been taunted by shadow figures. That's
right.
just, and most shadow figures are just have such a negative connotation to them. It's just very odd.
I don't consider it a taunting, really, because it's not like they're coming up and doing something in front of me,
right?
And like they're taunting me, like I would feel like they're aggravating me, or they're trying to draw me into something. I don't see that. It's more of, I'm able to watch them in their past when they're transporting themselves or moving themselves from one place to another. Right. And things, and they just happen to be in some of the area. Like I said, it happens in some of the areas that I work. I've attributed it to that it could be a couple of the guys that had passed away, because one of them was he worked for me We closed the plan up the night before New Year's Eve, and he didn't come back.
Right. Right.
And stuff, and he was a vet, and but he was a younger guy, quite a bit younger than I am. So he was a vet of the 2011 stuff, and he but that's one of them. And then a couple of them are a couple of the older guys that didn't pass away at work, but they were part of it, and I just kind of get the feeling when it goes through that it's them. But those are the only two, like they said at work, are the ones that I get the feeling of that. But that could be me trying to put more to it than what it is. Of
course. Right.
Well,
we always,
I think so.
And this is philosophical and conjecture, but do you think that there is a chance that perhaps what you're seeing is all that you're able to see? So in other words, I don't see them like that. I get a picture that'll appear in here, and I can tell you what they're wearing, if their skin, if they're strong enough, I can tell you pretty much a lot of details. Are they, and this is the question, are they really shadow creatures like we think of shadow creatures? Or are they spirit, but you're just not able to comprehend them as the whole person? In other words, if it was truly your friend, coming through, your coworker, why would he be a shadow creature? He would be a spirit, right? So
right.
I wonder if it's just the limits of what you're able to understand and comprehend.
At this point, I would kind of agree with that, because like I said, I don't know if this is something more to come yet and I'm evolving or what's going on, but it's just, those things. And so
has it changed?
Are you open to it evolving into something stronger?
Communication. I mean, it's not like I'm afraid of it.
Okay.
I'm afraid of them. I mean, if it turned into that, I would accept it and see, you'd have to evaluate it after you have the experience and see if it's something that's you have to kind of weigh good and bad, as they say, and think about it and see, because like I said, right now, they're shadow people. I don't see faces. I basically see silhouette of kind of like silhouette with a cape on it or something like that, because of the way that it moves through and all that kind of stuff. It's so.
And you can tell if it's male or female, or I don't even know if there's a difference.
No, I really don't. I really haven't been able to discern male and female from it. So I don't know that much about that to answer that. So
it's really
are the figures dark? You're saying they're shadow people, but are there different gradients of dark and light, or are they just all dark?
No, there is some different gradients. Sometimes they're really, really dark and black. Okay. And sometimes they're a lighter gray and different colors. Not a bunch of different colors, but in the gradient from dark black to light gray black, what I mean?
Right.
Depending on the time of day, the sun or whatever, wherever I see them, there can be that change. Yes, I have noticed that.
Okay. All right. Interesting. All right.
You get a sense of whether the lightness or the darkness is related to the type of entity in other words, if they're bad, if they're dark.
Yeah. No, I really haven't had anything that would tell me that at this point.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see them out in public, usually you think of shadow creatures in this creepy, haunted, abandoned building. You don't think of them in traffic or walking through your office wall when the office is all lit up and bright and they walk through. It's really.
And like I said, last year at the hotel down there, we spend time in the room and they'd just be going back and forth, coming in and out of that room for some reason, just going back and forth.
I could see them there too.
Oh, Lynn's telling me that she said she noticed them at that time too.
Really?
So.
What hotel was this? Just curious.
It was downtown Mansfield.
I'm not exactly sure what the hotel name is. I don't know if it's the Plaza or whatever it is, but it's downtown.
But I want the name before I go to the next year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a lot of things. That was where they had the meet and greet last year.
Oh, okay.
On Friday night, it was there at the hotel. I mean, while we were there, the power went out for a while, but then they had a water pipe break on the second floor and flood the second floor.
Oh my God.
And, it wasn't, I mean, the bathtubs and things weren't really clean the way they should be and things like that. So, I mean, it
We
just,
definitely yeah, you could tell us later the name of that. Make sure we don't stay there.
yeah.
No, but
I
we
mean,
can go investigate. We'll get a room. Just
Yes.
to go
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, but that's the experience from last year.
Right.
But it's
Wow.
just,
I had no hot water this year either. I think I told Lynn. I don't know if that was my hotel, actually. I was staying at a hotel, no hot water at all.
there.
I ended up having to go get a different room.
Yeah, like I said, I can't remember the name of what it was, but their entrance is a drive-through and it's on the corner of the building. So when you drive into their entrance and get out, and when you drive through the entrance, you go around the back of the building to the parking lot, and it comes right off the main street.
Oh, I don't know.
Downtown.
I can't think now.
But it's actually right downtown. So it's just a little bit to the west of the courthouse when you come through the middle of town where the courthouse and the park and stuff is right there. It's just like 2 or 3 blocks to the west of that intersection of the courthouse.
So Jeff, how do you sleep at night when you're in a place like that and they're crawling the walls and everything else? How do you get any rest in a place like that?
Well, it takes me a while to get to sleep sometimes, but other times when I'm really calm and stuff, I go to sleep instantly and don't usually wake up for anything. A lot of noises don't wake me up when I do fall asleep and things like that. I've really never had any of that keep me awake.
How about your sense of privacy? Do you feel like you don't have any privacy either?
No, not really.
We lost Julie.
No.
Oh, that's all right.
So, but yeah, no, I don't think it's invasion of privacy or anything like that. It doesn't come to me as that. So it's like I said, it's been an interesting subject and things to work with and come through all this stuff and different things.
Have you noticed any difference from the beginning? So it's been, over 20 years. So have you noticed that it's changed at all or become more intense as you've gotten older?
Well, it's been the frequency comes up on it. I mean, it's not a daily frequency, but the frequency of seeing things and different things has come up on that as well as I've gotten older after this, all the things that have happened. And so the frequency is getting more and different things. And it's just with the added thing of going into venues and being told right away that, you need to leave. You're not supposed to be here.
And that's a little bit disconcerting too,
Yeah.
But you're okay sending linen, and I don't mean that, to be funny. I don't mean it that way. Like, no.
He does.
And I'll tell you this: my daughter Lindsay, who has been seeing things since she was like 2 or 3 years old in the house, and my wife are kind of two of the same, and they would be ones. They don't like to admit it, but they would be provokers. They would be charging in to see things and do things, and that's just the way they are. They keep calm and do that, and last year during the investigation at the prison last year, she was investigating with Andrea and stuff, and she had her hair in a ponytail, and she kept getting her ponytail pulled. And she kept thinking it was Andrea, and Andrea was over here at someplace else. But Andrea also got her. She had a pop bottle in her hand and got the pop bottle smacked out of her hand and rolled across the floor with things. So they're kind of into more of the investigation stuff than I've ever been into, and
That's really not your thing.
not too much. It hasn't been that way. So,
wow. Did you go this year? Did Lynn go to the investigation this year?
No, we didn't. Andrea had to leave early, so we were there for the meet and greet with the people that work, the staff that work the show on Saturday Saturday night. We did that meet and greet with them, and then after that meet and greet, we went back to the hotel because we had to leave at like 6:30 in the morning to make the airplane to get her back home. So,
yeah, I know she was heading out early the next morning, but I think next year I do want to go and be a vendor because it really was a lot of fun, and really a lot of nice people down there. And I didn't do the investigation. I didn't. I'd rather go there and investigate with a few people than do it with, however many they had for a big thing like that, even though it's a good sized place. But see, we need to take you so that you could tell us what's around us when we get through the building. I don't know. I don't feel things. Julie will go into a building and she's got that empath on. I don't like this room. This room's okay. I don't get that kind of stuff. I don't feel that. When I go in, I feel like I'm blocked. You know what I mean? I feel like it's sort of shut off, and maybe that's a protection mode or something, but I just don't get stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, and I've never been with anyone that sees things objectively, like outside of the body, that can see shadow creatures. We were a few weeks back, we went to, I did an event in Indiana, and we went to the Randolph County Asylum, and it's notorious for these crawlers that are in the basement. And we were sort of expecting to see one because they say it's just, they had pictures of it and everything. And we never did really get anything. But, I wonder with you if you'd even get past the front door, if they'd tell you to leave, because it's supposed to be intense.
Yeah. So we're looking at some other investigations in the future to go on and different things like that and stuff. So we'll see what happens. That's what I'm trying to see what happens and how it, avails and goes to whatever it, increases to or whatever.
Oh, well, are you interested in exploring that further?
I am. As well, Lynn's asked me if I'm interested in exploring that more, and I said, yeah, I am. I like to go places, and of course, I'm always going there anyways because I'm driving, and so.
Now, if we're together again at one of these events, I'd like to try an experiment with you.
Okay.
I would love to do a reading with someone where I'm visually, I'm bringing them in and I've got them there and I'm visually communicating, and see if you get anything that way. If they appear or manifest a certain way.
Okay.
I don't know if you would. I don't know. But it would be interesting to see.
It'd be interesting to see too.
What you see or don't see. Now Dana Stricker, right? One of the Solstice sisters. So Dana and I did a gallery event together, and it was really interesting because we both read very differently, but she's picking things up. She's talking to a woman, and she's getting whatever she's getting for that woman, and then I'm linking with the same spirit, getting different things from a different angle, and so stuff like that can happen, and it's sort of fascinating,
Yeah, the guy that does the pictures,
Brian Danhausen.
Yeah. So to add this, this was a big shocker for me, as I sat down with a gentleman. His name's Brian Danhausen. He does actual spirit paintings, and I sat down with him. He holds your hands for a few minutes. You sit there quietly and stuff like that. And then he takes and he paints a picture of everything. And when he completed the picture and then he explained the picture to me, it was very, very unbelievable of how spot on he was, because he actually told me, he says, this thing up in the corner here, he says he's kind of like a guardian angel for you, but he's your best friend that was killed in a car accident.
Oh my gosh, really?
And I never said a word to Brian about it. Brian picked all these things up,
Wow.
painted it on the picture. I was in the center of the picture, other things around the picture.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it's unbelievable what Brian does to that. So, I mean, it kind of confirmed all my stuff for my NDEs. No, mine's in the bedroom. But it confirmed all my NDEs and the things that happened and different things. And the other things that were around me were family things and different parts of my family and that, and different issues and different things or turmoil that's in my life and things.
Yeah.
But just being able to sit with him, you're calm with him, sitting calmly, not giving him any information, period.
And he pulls
None.
it out.
None whatsoever.
And that was when we just first met them.
And that was my first time actually meeting Brian when I did it. And I haven't done a second painting with him yet. I know my wife and daughter have both done at least two paintings with him.
Oh, more than that.
And he does, they like it because they find something different each time.
Where's he from, Jeff? What part of the country?
He's actually out of the Detroit area.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so he's usually at all the things in Michigan.
He'll be up at the zoo.
And he'll be at the Sioux this year. And he was at, was he down in Toledo with us?
Yes.
He was in Toledo. We did Toledo this year already.
Oh, nice.
And that was pretty good. But the thing with Brian and I've never had anybody be able to say things.
Like just
This
as
is-
a picture.
Okay, this is kind of just an example.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get it in the front here where I can get
Oh,
it to
yeah.
you. So this is kind of the thing like that. But in my picture, it was myself in the middle, and then up on one of the sides, up in the top area was my friend, and then other things around it. But all these things mean something, and he'll go through them and say, okay, the red swirls are this, the white swirls are this, the yellow is this. He tells you everything like that. And it's just unremarkable how spot on he is about it. And it just, I mean, that there just confirmed me after the, what I'd been seeing, what's been happening and stuff, that, that somebody else can confirm stuff. So, I mean, that really has helped me get through all this stuff as well.
It validates it. Julie and I are going tomorrow night. We're going to an event with a medium who does the spirit art. And so I'm very curious to see what comes up.
Yeah,
with
it's going to be very interesting.
But, I want to just take a minute to thank you, Jeff. Honestly, these hours are usually, and truthfully, they're only 54 minutes. That's why they. But honestly, the time just really flies by, and I really can't thank you enough for coming on.
And this, like I said, this kind of I've done. This is the third one that I've done, and it's all new to me. And I'm sitting back here. I'm as nervous as a cat.
Oh,
not knowing how to talk, not how to say things and everything. And I just like to try and make sure that I answer questions that and explain my, what happened and everything for everybody. And
thank you, Jeff. It's really been a pleasure having you on. And to all of you that joined us tonight, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night, everybody. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Yep.
You have been listening to The Paranormal Project with Scott Allen and Julie Finn. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. While you're there, leave us a rating and review so others can find out about the show. Stay haunted and go out there and explore the paranormal.